they dead and gone, but their testament is still in the earth, man.
Yeah.
These was men who were so dedicated they craft. If they crossed one T wrong, they threw the whole scroll away.
Right.
If they misdotted one I of 100-page story, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I hear that same passion in what you doing, getting this together.
Yeah.
It's like you want every I to have the dot, every T to be crossed, man. That's when you know it's that's when you know it's God.
Yeah. Jamil,
Yeah.
peace and grace, man. What's going on with you?
Hey, man, I'm doing good. I'm glad to be here, man. It's a blessing to be in your lair. You know what I'm saying?
No doubt, man. But for the people that don't know you,
Yeah.
who I would like to know you,
Yeah.
you know, who are you?
Man, you know what, man? I don't know because it's in the place I am today, man. But I'm gonna draw something from Paul real quick, man. Yeah. I'm the chief of the wrongdoers, man. You feel what I'm saying? Like
Okay.
I'm the chief of the wrongdoers. I'll say who've been saved by grace, man. I don't never want to take what Christ did on the cross and make it common or take it for granted, man. It's a lot of things I could say, but I want to start from that, man, because I know personally what it is to not be in a good place. You know what I'm saying? I know what it is personally to be out of order and in a place of opposition with the Most High, and I know what it is to experience a transformation of that.
Yeah.
That's the first thing I want to say before I say anything, you know, about degrees or any, you know, whatever the world respects. I want to say I'm someone who has been liberated through Christ.
Yeah.
And I've been liberated more than once. I'm not a got it all right guy. I've had it wrong and I'm right with Christ, and that's really what I rejoice in, man.
Yeah.
But you know, in real life, as they say, in the world and all that, you know, I'm a husband, I'm a father, I'm a brother. You know, I really enjoy family, and you know, one of my passions is helping people get to a place in their relationship with God where they can begin to confront, you know, some of their issues and pains. I do relationship counseling for about 15 or 20 years now, since I was in my 20s. Marriage counseling, you know, family counseling, and those kind of things. And that's what I would call my ministry.
Yeah.
Not my ministry, but my ministry. Y'all can find me on Facebook at Chris Jamil Manistries, because I believe this, bro. I believe being a man or a woman of God in this time is going to become the equivalent of what the early church believers who were first believers after Christ experienced.
Yeah.
Just being a man and woman of God, not who just believes in God, but one that believes God,
right,
and takes that stand. So that's my ministry, is teaching people what it is to be a man and a woman, a child of God, and helping people with those principles.
Yeah, when you say believes God, you mean like believes what God said.
That's it.
I think that's what I heard you.
That's it. Yeah, that's it. Who actually believes what he says and believes that that's enough. Because we live in a time, bro, where the challenge out there to those of us who believe him is there's a challenge that comes upon us a lot of times that says, that's cool, but you need this too.
Yeah.
This is what God said, but you also need this.
Yeah.
You know, so we're going in this time, we're going against stream, and we can't act like what's going on in the world right now is not presenting a lot of different challenges, bro.
Yeah.
To take your stance in what you believe God has said and following that.
Right. I mean, you know, just I'm thinking about, you know, you've been doing couples counseling and marriage counseling for all of those years. That's over 10,000 hours.
Yeah.
Of value. So that makes you an expert, right?
Yeah.
What do you think has been the biggest challenge for you in that space in terms of like, what is that hump that you had to overcome in that?
You know what, man, the biggest hump is the difference between the gift and the wisdom God gives you and the lack of how it shows up in your own life. People, I don't know if I've talked to many people about this.
Yeah.
But I was doing relationship counseling in my early 20s in college. While, college is that time, man, you doing your thing. You getting your stuff out. You feel what I'm saying?
Right.
And I wasn't impervious at it too, but I had a gift for this thing. And I could help people see the things that they were unable to see about themselves in relationships. And I was talking to people older than me. Couples, I was 21 and 22 dealing with couples that were in their 30s who were married and helping them hear things that they had been listening to their partner say for 5 and 6 years that they never could understand.
Right.
But as a 20-year-old, guess what? I'm getting into relationships, and that was around the time I met my then wife at 23, right?
Yeah.
One of the biggest humps is how you can help and heal, but still have to go through your own blockages, brokenness. That was one of the most humbling things for me, and it's still a humbling thing for me.
Yeah.
Because I'm still growing. You can be gifted and have insight and grow in that, and still almost be helpless in some of those areas for yourself.
Right.
And growing in that has really helped balance me as a man, because there's some things that in my 20s you don't have until you go through some stuff. So it's the things I went through in marriage and relationships and in my own learning about my own self and areas of brokenness that helped enrich what I do.
Yeah. So you've been married twice.
I've been married once. No, my wife, no, we've been married since 2006, 15 years.
Got you. I thought you were saying then wife, but you mean...
Oh, my wife, yeah, my wife now, yeah. That's I met the wife I have now. I met in 2003, yeah.
Got you.
Don't get me in trouble in here, bro. My wife be like, why you was married?
That's super dope, man. Adds a lot of value because we can get in a place where we're doing things and we're trying to help people, and then we're struggling our own lives, and it's like, and then you're not even being as great or as excellent as you can in the thing that you're trying to do. So it becomes a public failure and a private failure, which is way more heavy than you being a public success and a private failure. Like, what if you're both failures, publicly and privately?
Why you think so many ministers get burnt out? Because they're serving everybody else except their families.
Yeah.
How many ministers' wives and ministers' husbands can't stand the people they're ministering to because they're not receiving that? How many of their children can't stand it? I'm saying this from real life experience.
Yeah.
I had to learn that your ministry first is your way you manage your time in your household, the way you manage that. And the scriptures say a man should be a man of one wife, and that his house should be in order, because from that order God will bless what he does for people in his passion. So I learned what it is to have that out of order. A lot of people go me, God, the ministry, church affairs, my public persona, then kids and wife and all that, when it's really you and God and this family. The family's where you learn your management skills. You know what I'm saying?
And that's it.
That's where you learn your management skills.
So you posted something on social media one day, man, and you said that people don't tell you that marriage doesn't even gain its footing until 10 years in.
Yeah.
That was it hit home for me because I've reached the 10-year mark and plus, right?
Yeah.
Just talk about that real quick, man, because that was dope.
Man, I mean, a lot of times the way something starts is not going to resemble what it will become as it moves forward, right? When you get married, a lot of times now, we really don't often have realistic ideas about what it's going to be. People come with their expectations of it, then society has it. A lot of times we think we get together and that person's there for us.
Yeah.
To make us happy. In the moment they don't do it, we have doubts, we got questions, there's arguments, there's beefs. But there are just, and I learned this from elders and mentors and ministers ahead of me. They said there are some things that don't even get, the surface is not scratched until 10 years. There's some things as a husband I didn't understand about myself until we had thugged it out, toughed it out for 10 years. You know what I'm saying? There's some things my wife didn't understand about herself. We've been married 15 years now. There are some things that are around the 10, the 9, the 10, 11 year mark that she didn't grasp about herself until we showed that commitment. Two imperfect people deciding not to give up on each other. Some things, listen, let me say this real quick. Like a lot of times we think God honors talent, our intelligence, our charisma. God honors honor and loyalty. There's some things he's not going to release to you until you show him honor and loyalty and commitment. And there are some jewels in a marriage that aren't going to come out until you've been in it for a while, because God's waiting to see if you're going to stay committed to this institution. And I want to say that there are some beefs, there are some expectations that you have to teach each other through a season of seasons before they come around.
I just think, in the fight of it, or the thick of it, right, the thug it out part, it makes it even more glorious. And you can stand up on the mountaintop and just be like, I'm here now.
That's it. That's it, man. Let me say this too, man. A lot of times we've got to iron out a lot of things in us that don't line up with God, man. Because sometimes as men, we think marriage is someone who's there to be there for us. Sometimes we think it's about a sexual buffet. We've been taught that when you get married, it's a sexual buffet. You've been taught that person's going to be there to submit to you or be there to always agree with you and be there in your struggle. And you don't often realize the layers and levels to which that person is a person. Sometimes that wife may think you're there to make sure they're always secure, always provided for, that you're going to be able to understand and acknowledge all her emotions and all these things that Disney has put into our head, right? And those things don't get ironed out until the rubber meets the road. But if you can have someone who you can get naked with, spiritually, we can get, anybody can get naked physically with anyone. But if you can grow to a point where you can get naked with someone spiritually and emotionally, and they can see your faults, and instead of shaming you or embarrassing you, they learn how to cover you. You found something worth fighting for. And in the midst of that, that can help you balance yourself. Guess what? A lot of times in marriage, as a man, you got to learn to discipline your sexual appetite.
Oh, man.
And make it more about that person than about your urges, because sex changes. People don't talk about that. Just the sex life changes. Body features change. Your money goes up, your money goes down. You have failures. Listen, there are things we as men don't talk about, man. The spirit just on me to just be real, man. You got men out there with their wives, and they have situations where your wife miscarriages. And as a man, okay, I'm being real. I've talked to my wife about this, okay? As a man, I'm a counselor. I walk people through those processes. I help them heal. But when it happens to me, I don't know how to deal with it because it's so close to me. And it's the shame of not knowing how to deal with it, and your wife don't know how to deal with it, and there's silent spots. You don't know what's going to happen, bro. But in time, it's because you stick through it, there are these breakthrough points of being lost, being ashamed, not being a man you don't understand how to do. And when you get to those points, because you stay committed, God will show you a breakthrough, and you have that conversation at 2 a.m. at night where you acknowledge that you didn't know. Yeah. And you know she's been struggling. You don't know what to say. And God has a breakthrough and reveals to you that that one you lost is coming back. And a year later, you get pregnant. These are some of the things you have to go through. And I'm saying that these things are not like the commercials. They're not like the love and hip hop model of relationships. They cause you to have to dig down deep and stay in it. Yeah. And be receptive and trust God and follow what he said and honoring what he said to see it through. So there's some real things that go down that are only honored if you stick it out and align with his principles rather than worshiping what your feelings say. Sometimes your feelings say, as a man, I don't need this. Sometimes a woman is like, I could do bad all by myself. Those things come up. You question it. But it's about denying those things. Christ said, if you want to follow me, you have to deny yourself. Not be in self-denial. Self-denial is when you pretend it's not happening. Denying yourself means you abstain from reacting the way the world or your emotions may tell you to do. And if you do that, the way will be unveiled to you, and you'll be able to last in these relationships. But it's work.
Yeah, it's work, and then I think somebody might look at that or hear what you just said and say that's inhumane. You know, that's something that a human being can't do. Yeah. And it made me just go back to just the lives that you do on your Facebook page, and the purpose behind those art builds that you do, man. Talk about that real quick if you can add some value with that.
Absolutely. I like to do what I call arc builds because I feel like in this changing time, I think we're in the fulfillment of prophecy. I don't care if you don't believe in God. If you look around, you see what's going on. You know something's happening. You know what I'm saying? I mean, this locust literally in East Africa. You know what I mean? There's literally plagues going on, man. Right. And honor to God, I believe in this, is that when things are going on, there are blueprints being given for arcs to be built. Yeah. And I believe that in the kingdom, it's important for us to start talking about what those blueprints are and how to build them. See, your passion is your blueprint. The work you do is the wood and the material to build the ark that's going to save and preserve somebody else. Right. The ministry I do is about teaching people there's something being given to you while these clouds are gathering. Right? There's something being given to you while the news is telling you about plagues and economic crises and racial division. Something's being given to you. And so what I want to focus on is how do we come together to have arc talks that will graduate into arc building? Yeah. One of the greatest arcs that we can build right now is family. You see what I'm saying? In our culture, I'm not afraid to talk about our culture. I believe that, number one, my main mission is to invite as many people in the kingdom's citizenship as possible. But also because I'm in this skin, I have to speak to our people. And the biggest vulnerability we have to the flood that is beginning to manifest through the reign of issues we have is families. We don't talk about it. I think we're being blinded by it from media and things like that. But a great deal of the suffering happening amongst our community is the conflict between men and women, the spirit of anti-marriage, role reversal. You know, men are in cases becoming more effeminate and passive and irresponsible, and women are having to take on more leadership roles and things like that. So one of the things that I believe is just looking into God's word and seeing what he has said about the power of us coming together as family and joining together and understanding our need for one another. That helps us fight off poverty. That helps us fight off the criminal system. That helps us fight off stress and depression and identity confusion. And I don't think we realize how much we need each other because we're being fed that our value is in being independent from each other. Our value is in how much we don't need one another. We are one of the only cultures where our women say, I don't need a man. Who else says that? Who else says that, bro? So somewhere we've dropped the ball. And I'm saying we've dropped the ball.
I think it's been more of a lack of self-awareness where you just find where they can't keep a man, right?
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So
yes.
I can't keep a man because I don't need a man.
Yes, thank you.
Because my pride won't allow me to just say,
right.
I can't keep this dude around.
That's it.
So
said if your lashes were longer, that'll make you more.
That'll make you more attractive.
Right. You know, but yet, right, here's the thing. Check that out, Darius. If you don't have that peace, then your idea of masculinity and femininity becomes more superficial.
Right.
So your masculinity be about if I got a six-pack. Your masculinity is about what type of car I have.
Right. And
it's
your thinking, right?
It's your thinking. Going back to your thing, man.
It's your thinking. It's your mindset.
It's your mindset. Right. So femininity, right? Guess what? If you're not rooted in who you are and who God says you are, your femininity becomes more. It's not that your appearance is not rooted in your femininity, right?
Yeah.
But if you look at the culture now, look at the reality shows, bro. I'm telling you, the women are beginning to look less human. It's more exaggerated.
Man, I hate to do this, but I gotta go ahead and affirm what you're saying, bro.
Yeah.
And not only do they begin to look less human, they become more objectified. And then the culture of, men objectifying women just becomes a normality. And because we're not having the conversation, you get to say what you just said. Because I need to be fully engaged in who you are in your mind and your conversation.
And we can't be afraid. I'm saying this is why I say, I call it Manistries.
Yeah.
The stuff we see now wouldn't happen if the men of our great-grandfathers' generations were here. See, a lot of the things you see politically and socially, it's happening because a certain type of man has died out. Men who would speak to these things. Do you see what I'm saying? So what I'm saying is that men of faith now, I'm saying it, black men, I'm saying it, black men. I know y'all think that there are no other people who haven't bowed down to Baal. We are out here. I'm encouraging you to not compromise, to speak the truth. To speak the truth to those around you that you love, and don't be afraid. We have to put that on the line because guess what? Our women need to hear it. If they don't hear it from us, who are they getting it from?
Oh, man. And then there's this spirit that says, if I tell her the truth about herself right now, she's going to be offended.
Yes.
She's not going to speak to me.
Yes.
I ain't going to get the BBL today.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
So I'm going to affirm that too.
You see what I'm saying?
Fellas, if you got to reject the BBL tonight,
go ahead and do it.
Just go ahead and do it.
Because here's the truth. Here's the truth now, bro. Here's the truth. Now, when I was in college, and even now, okay, I'm walking out with my wife, right? And you see more of these out here. She'd be like, I know you seen that. And I was like, yeah, you seen it first, right? Because your woman see it first. But one of the things I've always shared over the years is like, men are visual. Of course, we see that, but that's not what we commit to. Nobody talks about that, but they're telling the women that in order to attract a man to commit to you, that you got to do too much. But guess what? The woman I'm going to commit to stands out. And they're making it difficult for a woman to believe that if she stands out and has a standard and sets her side, which elevates her value. Because I'm looking at a woman, I'm like, okay, she keeps herself to herself. She has certain standards. Her value's higher than me because I know dudes without those standards can't get to her. So I'm going to work for her. That's what you feel what I'm saying. I'm going to work for her, but I may play around as a young man. I may play around with the one who's doing too much and putting herself all the way out there in the way that the spirit of the world might say, but I'm not going to take you to my grandma's house.
And this is how you end up with kids and not being married.
That's it.
Because you don't even understand how to just be set apart and stand out. Like it ain't even about, it's a combination of things that came together with you.
Talk about it.
That you didn't do anything. It was just
talk about
and sometimes, ladies, it be something about you that's just different.
That's it.
Than everybody else.
Yes.
It's not even about what you look like.
Yes.
Like it's just a combination of stuff that was outside of you.
Now we have listen. Now we going into some stuff now, bro. Listen, there are pheromones to this thing, bro. Listen, I'm talking to some woman out there who's standing out. You might be that woman who stands out, and all your girlfriends get hollered at. But sometimes it's because there's a pheromone on those women that they put out that puts out an energy that they're more available. And if you put out the energy or the spirit that you are set apart, they're like, hey, I got just this one night to put my work in. That's too much work. But what you're doing is you're setting yourself apart for the man who's looking for that thing that's set apart.
You said pheromone, like
you can smell it, man.
I'm gonna have to Google it.
Ones that are more active.
Yeah.
There's a vibration to it. Okay? There's pheromones that come up when you're more sexually active. This is why they say the old people called it spirits. Like spirits attract the like spirits. So if you got a vibe that you're out there and your standard is you're not looking for something greater, you're gonna attract the dude not looking for much. Okay? If you've got a standard that's greater, okay, if your steak costs more than bologna. Okay? Now, if I only got $2, I'm going to get the dollar menu that I can achieve and get because the standard's lower. But if it's steak, I got to get prepared for that. I got to dress different when I'm going for the steak. If I go to McDonald's, I just walk in right now. But if we go into the Ruth Chris and all of that, right, the protocol's completely different. And the same thing is with men and women. Okay? So it's a whole different approach. In the spirit of the world right now, there is an anti-marriage spirit that is poured into our community. Okay? And it makes us feel that if we stand out differently, that we're not going to get what we deserve. But if you stand out, that's what's going to activate something. It's when you take a stand that you begin to activate the powers of heaven to move people into your life. Because it's going to change your environments, man. If you hang around all women that are hating on men, what are you going to attract? Lower men equality. But when you start hanging with sisters who've been married, they know the struggle, they're not going to talk to you the same. They're not going to tell you all men are trash. They're going to tell you, hey, roll a little bit different, young lady. Put yourself together a little bit different, young lady. And then you start seeing that what you attract is different. And I'm going to say this to the young women out here. I'm going to give y'all some wisdom right here. The guy that they're projecting to you, who's maybe prettier than you, that ain't always the one. The guy with the six-pack, I'm not knocking six-packs, right? I'm not a hater if you got a six-pack. I'm not a hater if you're pretty. But I'm saying sometimes that guy who is the one who eating the cheese sandwich at lunch break, stacking his bread. He got the 401k. He's not necessarily the most exciting guy all the time, but he's steady and he's consistent and he's looking to build something different. He may not be the guy that everyone's looking at. His style may not be 100%, but he's building something. He has a different standard. He's working on something. He has some plans about where he wants to be in 10 years. And he wants to build something completely different. So I'm saying sometimes we got to change our lenses and stop looking for what everyone's saying we should be looking for.
Come on, man.
So that's I just wanted to put that out there because sometimes we keep finding the wrong things because we're not looking through the right eyes.
Right. So you said something specific like the woman that's with their girls and always getting hollered at.
Yeah.
That's a pheromone. That's a vibration.
Yes.
being put out there, because it's less about what you look like and the energy, and more about the energy that comes from you.
Thank you.
Right? That's the pheromone.
That's the pheromone.
But listen, man. I think it's probably valuable for a woman who gets that, doesn't necessarily want that, and needs to adjust that. What would you say to that?
But there are pheromones, and that's how people are connecting.
Right.
So
is it connected to your intent as a woman, like where you place yourself?
Yeah.
How you? This is me speculating.
Yeah,
I know you.
Yeah,
I just.
Yeah.
Is that it?
It's the most dominant thing is your attitude. It's your attitude and your mind state, because your attitude and your mind state is going to determine your behavior, and your behavior is going to align you with your surroundings. Okay. And when you have that going with you, if that behavior leads you into a way where your standard is lower, you're going to involve yourself more deeply with a lot of individual males who don't have value for you. Okay. Now we talk about the pheromone part. Let me tell you what's going on, man. In a man's semen is 20% neurospinal fluid. Okay. Your brain is in your seed. Okay. So when women are receiving seed from different guys, they're bringing in different personalities.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? So this is impacting them. This is why the ancients, they weren't trying to, the Hebrew in the scriptures tell you that sex was marriage. When you consummated. And the reason they wanted them to be chaste is because they didn't, or what you call sexually modest, is because they didn't want to have too many different males influence on that woman.
Got you.
Now, we all have a past. We all have done different things. How do you change that? How do you change the impact of your surroundings? You have to deny yourself and take up your cross. Let's change that into modern day language. A lot of times, bro, we just got to detox. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If I've been around people who are bad with finances, spend irresponsibly, blow their whole checks, I can't get responsible staying in that environment. If I'm rolling with women who constantly have broken relationships or failed relationships and producing babies, and no man is no situation where a man is being responsible, right?
Yeah.
I can't expect to get something higher than my surroundings. I'm never going to achieve anything higher than my belief of myself. And the people in my surroundings reflect my belief of myself.
Now, this applies to men and women.
Men and women. We talking about women, but I'm talking to you men too. You will never achieve anything higher than the level of your self-belief. So a lot of times what happens is the people in our circle, they're a reflection of what our most inner self-belief is. If we want to change that, then first we have to humble ourselves to recognize that our outcomes and our behavior, there's a match.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing, man. One of the greatest miracles is when we can take accountability for our behavior and our outcomes. You talked about it earlier, bro.
Yeah.
You said, listen, I can't keep a man becomes I don't need a man. I can't find a good woman becomes all these women are trash.
Yeah.
But what we don't look at is in the mirror, our beliefs and our behaviors and how our outcomes match. So in a lot of times in order to change, what do? We have to detox from our environment. We have to detox from our behavior. So this is one of the most basic things that requires work. See, you can't just go do a law of attraction thing and say that. This is what we miss about. You can't do law of attraction. You can't even go, a lot of you Christian brothers and sisters, you can't sow a seed to change your behavior. You can't sow a seed, reap a destiny. Sow a seed, get a breakthrough. You have to take control over your behavior and discipline yourself. There are some things you got to starve out of yourself. This is why Christ said, you can be saved and go to heaven, but fail in areas of life because you don't discipline yourself. People don't recognize that. God ain't calling you to be perfect to accept his gift, but following his principles will help you. So if you're a man or a woman and you're having those outcomes, you need to acknowledge the connection between some of the way you've thought, your behaviors, and your outcomes. And you have to detox yourself from it, step back from it, and get out of those environments. Change your associations so you can be fed with something different. An alcoholic can't heal from alcoholism while hanging around other alcoholics.
Yeah, man.
You see? You got to get with some people who can pour something else into you.
Yeah. When it comes to people's thought process and mindsets, man.
Yeah.
I think I read somewhere or heard someone say that's the most like difficult thing.
That's it. It's a more profound miracle than God parting the Red Sea is to help a human being change their thinking. You feel what I'm saying? It's probably easier for God to raise Lazarus than to get someone to see their thinking and receive assistance and surrender to have it changed. One of the things I want to say to that, to any man or woman out there, one thing that I'm grateful for is the process that I've been able to go through as a result of changing kingdoms. You got to change what government you're being ruled by. All of us is being ruled by governments, man. And when we change to God's government, the kingdom, he begins to take us through a process that changes the way of our thinking. I grew up and I am what I have described as being a survivor of the invisible Black Holocaust, okay? The invisible Black Holocaust is the reality that since the 60s, most Black households are being led by women. Okay, so it's not the pattern and design that God designed. Shout out to all the single mothers out there. Shout out to my mother. I got the greatest respect for my mother and the single mothers out there and the fathers who, for whatever reason, are in that situation and what have you. But what I will say honestly, and I know some of y'all may cut this off, is that it's created an imbalance because it wasn't the thing God intended. So a lot of us, you have daughters now who've been raised up in that, and it causes the pattern of them choosing spiritually, emotionally, and financially unavailable men. You have the sons who've been raised by that, and they lead with their emotions and not with clarity of thought. They deal with anger and depression, and that's why some of you women, you like, why is this man so angry? Why is he so inconsistent? Because he's been raised under the wrong spirit. And I'm saying this to say it's not fair, and it's not the ideal situation for single mothers. It's not fair, and it's the ideal situation for single fathers. I'm not judging, but I'm saying we have an opportunity to repair that. It's no different than when the Hebrews in Egypt experienced having to make bricks without straw. A brick is a house, a straw is a father. We're in a situation where 70% of our children are being born in households without fathers, but we're still trying to build houses without them. And so as a result of being a survivor of that experience, by the grace of God, one of the things I had to do is surrender to God's government and get his help to get those impacts out of me. When I got married, I thought so long as I wasn't gay or in prison, this is what my mom said. She said, as long as you work and you're not gay, you're in prison, you're a good Black man. That was the standard I took. So when my wife had an issue with me, I'm like, I'm lit. I'm here. I'm not, you know what I'm saying? I'm staying here. I'm like, I'm lit. I didn't know my bar was too low. I didn't know that I had to learn to be responsible. And grace be to God that there were men who had been married for years. There were men that knew what it took, who taught me and took me by the hand. So what I'm saying is that took me years of study from like 18 to now. I'm still in relationship with men who showed me what the principles of manhood were. They showed me that no man comes out of nowhere. And I had to learn what is a man's responsibility with his wife. What are the childish attitudes I had to get rid of? I had to get out of environments of my peers that didn't want to learn to take responsibility and detox from that and get into understanding the constitution of God for manhood and for womanhood, how to recognize a woman who's suitable for marriage and a relationship, how to recognize my own limitations and weaknesses, and I had to be brainwashed. I had to have the old government washed out of my brain. And I had to learn that to be a man, the difference between a boy and a man is a man has the capacity. He has the capacity and the ability to delay gratification to fulfill his purposes. That's what I had to learn over time. And it's because of the guidance of men of God to teach me that and call me out when I was out of line that my marriage was able to be sustained. Because if I continued being the old man under the world's government, I would have messed it all up. I would have messed it all up. So this message goes for men and for women. Change your government. Give your life over to Christ. He's still in the business of fixing marriages. He's still in the business of healing bodies. He's still in the business of correcting mindsets. He's still in the business of calling and commissioning people and appointing people for their purposes. He's still in the business of that. And I am a living witness to that. So don't use the excuse that you didn't see that good example. You did, you just didn't know. It might have been your uncles, might have been your professor, might have been someone. There are examples and there are people there, but until you acknowledge it, your eyes won't open. The scales won't fall from your eyes to see your need to surrender to a higher government. So that's what I wanted to put out there, family. It's a process, and the things that God wants to really change in your life are those things that are hard, and some of them take time. And I don't want any of y'all to beat yourself up, because it's the things you can't change on your own that you need him for. And that's what I wanted to say out there to anyone.
Man, Jamil.
Yeah.
Salute
man.
to you, King. Man, I appreciate you having
I appreciate you,
this
man.
time with us, man. Man, salute to you.
Absolutely.
Stinking. Cause I ain't tell ya. Go ahead and focus and meditate on this greatness. If you don't hear the glory, you probably still stuck in the matrix. He said this is for me. Living revelation on your playlist. Since everybody A-listed, we probably need to pray this. The kingdom is coming. Better yet, the kingdom is here, and we the proof of purchase. And I'm not a part of no circus. We two different churches. Who you manifest in the earth with? Undermining our purposes for the blessings and the cursing. You know this.